So we're doing 2 tier lists today, by the way. We're doing partners and crystal stars, aka special moves. I'm gonna call them special moves because magical map is one of the powers. It represents sweet treat, so I'm not just gonna say crystal stars tier list. We're gonna do partners, then special moves. So let's just jump in, shall we? Okay, for the partners, I don't even know if I want a C tier, to be honest. I don't know. I think I actually might get rid of C tier. But let's just go through the list and see how it shapes up first before I decide to get rid of it. You may have seen my other tier lists on partners, and I gotta tell you, it's gonna be roughly the same. My opinions have not changed too much. However, the remake does have some differences, and I think that it's enough to warrant a new tier list because it does change a couple things, and I think it's worth talking about because, well, the remake is slightly different, so it's good to talk about it if you're playing the remake instead of the original, right? So, and plus, I fucking love talking about this game, so fuck it, we're doing tier lists because it lets me talk about this game. Let's go over the tiers really quick. Again, I don't know about C tier, we might get rid of it, but S tier is like the cream of the crop partners, the strongest partners, the partners you always want to use, they're the best. A tier is generally strong. I would say that A tier, for the most part, you can get by and use them just fine. You're just like, in more situations, S tier is better. A tier partners could be better than S tier in some situations. It really depends on the build. They're great partners. B tier, I would say, are just solid partners. They're not great. They're not trash. They're just solid. Okay, maybe we get rid of C tier. I'm going through these and I'm like, C tier means nothing to me. We're getting rid of it. Yep. You may be thinking, Kappy, why is F tier here? We'll get there. F tier is for a very specific reason. So we're just going to go from left to right. So Goombella. Goombella is the first partner you get, and she's one of the best. She is S tier, and it's not just because she's basically Mario with head bonk and multi bonk. The main reason why she rockets up to S tier is because of Rally Wink. And Rally Wink, if you don't know, is just an absurdly powerful move for only 4 FP that gives Mario a second turn. And I don't need to tell you how fucking good Mario is. He's SS tier compared to the partners. He's incredible. He's super good. He's got it all, man. So if Mario is able to move twice, that's pretty fucking insane, and Goombella lets you do that. You can do some really wild stuff with Rally Wink, and I actually think it's not a giant buff, but Merlee's attack spell lasting for a whole turn gives Rally Wink a little more value than it already has, which is huge value. You can do some pretty crazy setups. Get Mario into peril and do double power bounce. You can do a lift plus power bounce, some kind of item thing plus power bounce. I mean, it doesn't even need to be power bounce. It can be other moves too. You can do 2 special moves in 1 turn. It's imagination. And then on top of Rally Wink, Goombella is a solid attacker because she has power bounce built into her kit with multi bonk, and she has head bonk, which, you know, Mario's jump and power bounce are extremely strong. So you can just go the partner route instead of 2 Mario turns, and Goombella's good. So it's like, damn, she's got it all. The only thing she struggles with is AoE. You could keep her for the whole game and you'd be pretty good. Unless you're fighting spiky enemies or fire enemies, then, you know, good luck. Koops. Koops for a really long time for me has been like the gatekeeper in A tier. I think that's changing. Just based on how I've personally been playing. I actually think Koops now is at the bottom of S tier. The true S tier gatekeeper. Koops' low FP costs combined with insane AoE, even though it's only grounded, and his awesome defensive options in Shell Shield just make him an all-around amazing partner. And the only reason he's not above Goombella is just because, like, against bosses, you're really only Shell Shielding if you're going to use him. Any other time, any other normal enemy, bro, like, Koops is there. Every chapter, Koops is there. You can smash the entire game with Koops. Like, I find myself using Koops more and more, actually. He's really fucking good. And it's because there's just not enough aerial enemies for Koops to really care, because Mario is there. to bring the aerial enemies down or just get rid of them. You know, a lot of the aerial enemies that are like really troublesome, like spiky parabuzzies, just die immediately to Tremor or to like an item like Shooting Star or Thunder Rage. So Koops doesn't really need to worry about it too much. Mario can also just multi-bounce them down to the ground for Koops to power shell or shell slam them. And the extra power plus P you get now in the remake, I think also really helps cement Koops' placement in the bottom of S tier, because that alone allows him and Mario to literally multi-bounce and power shell basically the entire pit. I'm pretty sure they do a perfect 16 now. So you can KO like Tarantulas and other enemies that you maybe normally couldn't in one turn. Like, it actually just makes him a little better. Also, for the remake specifically, Shell Shield absolutely fucks Wacka. Wacka can do nothing if he decides to target a shell shielding Mario. So, all right, let's talk about Flurrie. Flurrie is a pretty contentious partner because Flurrie either goes two ways. Either you've used Flurrie and you understand why she's good, or you think she's absolute garbage. Well, I'm here to tell you that she's not garbage. I think now that we're moving Koops up to S, I think it's time to bring the other partners up too, because I think their usage is still good. Like, you can't deny that Gale Force is actually amazing at just deleting a screen sometimes, and Lip Lock literally destroys a lot of single target enemies. Like, Flurrie is, bar none, the best tank in the game. Like, she's better than Mario at tanking because of Lip Lock. The only move that's, like, bad, like, that's truly bad, is Dodgy Fog. Because that shit, like, evasion just ain't it. And it's, like, it's unreliable, it costs a lot of FP, and it only works on Mario. It doesn't even work on Flurrie. So it's like, why not just use a Repel Cape at that point? Or a Boost Sheet, if you want to be 100% evasion. So that move is just bad, but every other move is good. So yeah, I think Flurrie is pretty good. Now, you're not going to be using Flurrie as much as Koops, I'm gonna tell you right now, but like sometimes there's enemies that like you just don't want to deal with Mario. You don't have the star power to use a special move to deal with them, and sometimes, like, and if they're aerial, even not sometimes, you can just whip out Flurrie, use Gale Force, and even if you don't KO all of them, KOing like 2 or 3 of a 4 or 5 set is like huge. I think I said this every partner tier list, but if you haven't used Flurrie, give her an honest try. She's really not as bad as you think, especially Lip Lock. It's time for Yoshi. Now, I need to talk a little about the history of Goombella and Yoshi, because Yoshi is S tier. Make no mistake, Yoshi is S tier. However, whether or not Yoshi or Goombella was the better partner really depended on your playstyle, because they both kind of do the same things. The only thing that Yoshi has above Goombella is that he has an AoE move that hits everything in Stampede. His ground pound and Goombella's multi-bonk are very comparable. Gulp just kind of sucks. It's not worth the 4 FP usually, although it can be used in 5 FP Peril point swap setups, which is pretty cool. And then Mini Egg is okay. It's really only good against bosses. It's too inconsistent for normal enemies when you might completely miss the enemy you actually want to shrink. But it's pretty good against bosses for a guaranteed shrink. And it does pretty decent damage too. Not as good as ground pound, but I think the difference between whether Goombella or Yoshi was better was your playstyle. I think now at this point, and I think actually this might be remake specific. I do not think this is like in GCN. I still think you can place Goombella or Yoshi at the top and be fine. But I do think that Yoshi is actually better in the remake because of the multi-bonk. I'm not going to call it a glitch, but the 1 frame on the 4th bonk that also affects power bounce. And while you can practice that, like, it's still an insanely tight timing that demands good execution. While Yoshi, you just spam ZR and there, you're done. Use the ground pound and you're done. I don't think that the multi-bonk thing like brings Goombella down that much, but I do think that it is enough to give an edge to Yoshi to keep Yoshi at the top of S tier this time. Now, with that said, I would not yell at anybody for putting Goombella over Yoshi still. I do think it's still very close. Oh, one other thing to note about Yoshi is that he is the only partner who can basically solo everything because of Stampede. If Stampede didn't hit aerial enemies, we'd be having a different conversation. Let's talk about Vivian. This is a hard decision for me because I don't think that Flurrie is so good that she deserves to be an A tier on her own. I do think that she's better than Vivian, but I don't know. It's tough to say. You know, okay, I'm just gonna do this because if I'm thinking about how I've been using partners lately and like how I do my upgrade routes, this is where I usually go. Okay, so Vivian is not bad. She is worse than Flurrie. I just think she has overall less utility. And the biggest reason is because there's actually a lot of enemies. Oh, you're right. Okay, hold on. I may change this. Actually, someone in the chat just said something about Wacka. Is that enough? Let's talk about Vivian first. Okay, so Vivian is the only partner where if you miss the action command, you still do full damage. So she's great for action commandless runs. The burn is nice, but it's not like the burn is not like incredible in like when you're just playing through the game. Like you really don't need it. She is able to lock wizards or dark wizards and elite wizards, which is nice, but for basically a lot of other enemies that doesn't really matter. So a lot of enemies don't get lit on fire, and a surprising amount of really annoying enemies just do not take damage from fire attacks. Fiery Jinx is kind of like it's not bad, but you know what? I'm thinking about it more. I'm thinking about Bobbery too while I'm doing this. Okay, I need to put... Maybe we don't need a B tier, guys. I've been doing this whole list. Maybe we don't need a B tier. I think I'm right in this. I feel like none of the partners are truly bad. Okay, I can't get rid of B. I have to get rid of B tier, bro. We're just gonna delete B tier completely. Because I already know that I'm not putting Bobbery there. Veil is good for Wacka. That is a big plus in her favor because she also destroys Wacka. Fiery Jinx gets clipped by a lot of enemies that just straight up ignore fire damage, and it's got a high FP cost. And when you upgrade to Ultra, Fiery Jinx's attack doesn't go up, which kind of sucks. Like that extra attack, that extra point in attack would probably be a bigger deal than you'd think. Like, it can make the difference between when it KOs and not when it KOs, like when you're factoring out all the other like badges you're putting on to increase power. Fiery Jinx, however, does pierce, which is pretty nice. Infatuate is utter garbage. Bottom 3 move. So it is just bad. Like, there's just no point. It's fun to use, but don't use it, bro. I think Vivian is not that much worse than Flurrie. Like, they offer a different flavor of utility, but I do think that the overall utility Flurrie provides is better. We move on to Bobbery, who at this point, I'm not gonna lie, there's been a lot of stuff that has gone into Bobbery's, like, well, development sounds weird, but like his meta has changed a little. Like, I feel like Bomb Squad just keeps getting better as a move, and while Hold Fast is utter trash, like Bomb having a super high base power and like at level 0, like at base rank, along with Bombast still dealing good damage. I think at this point, I think Bobbery is better than Vivian. I actually upgrade Bobbery over Vivian almost every single time now. Like, and sometimes I upgrade Bobbery over Flurrie if I'm not planning to use Flurrie. So I actually think that Bobbery is slightly better than Vivian. I do think that Flurrie is better still, but Bobbery I do think edges out Vivian at this point. I just think the utility of Bomb Squad cannot be understated. It's really good. The only thing that happened with Bobbery's Bomb Squad is that it has a weird interaction with how turn changes go now, but that really, I feel like that really only affects Cortez. You also can't do the Shadow Queen thing anymore. Like, you can't like do the Ultra skip. You can't completely skip phase 2 with it, but Bomb Squad is still like a really damaging move for 3 FP, and at base rank. Like at base rank, Bobbery is outputting crazy damage. Even though it doesn't like get stronger with attack buffs, like it's still a good move, bro. Like it's really good. You can use it in creative ways to get yourself into peril. You can use it to deal some really decent damage, especially if you like plan around how you're going to use Bomb Squad. But Bombast and Bomb Squad all do get hit by the same. Most of the enemies that resist fire also resist explosions. But Bombast does have a really high base damage, and even if it doesn't pierce defense, it's just still really strong. And it has a high FP cost, and that can be bad. That can be bad, don't get me wrong. You can't just spam a Bombast if you're playing, I guess, builds that most challenge runners do, which is like not a ton of FP. But if you're building up to like, even like 25 FP is enough to get good use out of a Bombast and other moves. And I want to say really quick that the A tier, if I'm being real with you, I think these three can go in any order. I think Flurrie, Bobbery, and Vivian can go in any order. They're just, I think S tier at this point are partners that you're just going to use all, like those are the 3 partners that you can just whip out at any time and you're going to get good value out of them. I think A tier are more niche applications. These partners can be very good, but you can't just use them generally and get as much success as you will out of the S tiers. That's kind of what it boils down to for me. Flurrie, Bobbery, and Vivian are not bad. They're just not as good as the top 3. And I truly believe that you can put them in any order. I just think it's Flurrie, Bobbery, Vivian. Okay, I think we all know why the F tier still exists. It's for the absolute worst fucking partner in TTYD, Miss Mowz. She's garbage. Not only does she have like just terrible HP at ultra rank, Love Slap is a hammer targeting piercing 4 damage. I think Smooch is the best move in her kit. Tease is garbage, like just utter trash. And then Kiss Thief. Okay, here we go. I gotta talk about Kiss Thief, all right? A lot of people are gonna say that Mowz is good because of Kiss Thief and your ability to steal items and badges. And yes, that is cool and it is good. And in the niche scavenge challenge run, you could use Kiss Thief to get some extra stuff. However, not everybody is getting the same stuff you are as far as scavenging. And the remake actually nerfed Kiss Thief because now, it gives you a higher chance overall to get drops than in the original. Like, people are talking about how you can get drops like crazy in like pre-hooktail pits and stuff. Like when the game first came out, people were like getting drops everywhere. It felt like everybody was a little lucky. It's fun to use, and like again, you can steal stuff, but I actually think it's worse than Smooch. At least with Smooch, you can do something with it, even if it's 10 FP for no reason. The only other thing Mowz has going for her is that in level 0 runs, she does the same damage that Bobbery and Vivian do to a 2 defense enemy because she pierces. And yes, the jump from A to F is deserved. She is that much worse in combat than these other partners. All right, that's the list. No changes necessary. Okay, let's go over the tiers for special moves. We're gonna do special moves, not crystal stars, special moves, because the magical map is Sweet Treat. S tier is the cream of the crop. These are insanely good special moves. You can use them basically all the time. They are always good. A tier is pretty good. You can get a lot of really good use out of these. Good in a lot of situations. I would say sometimes better than these, but most of the time not. B tier is pretty solid. They're pretty solid. You can get good value out of them, but it's not something that you're gonna always turn to. More niche applications. And C tier is just mid. They're okay. They're not bad, but they might just be a little outclassed. So again, we're just gonna go from left to right here. We're gonna start with Sweet Treat, which was the best special move in the GameCube version of TTYD, and it is still S tier here. It is still amazing, even though it got nerfed. The nerf, by the way, is that it has it randomly selects the set of HP and FP you're gonna get. No, usually it doesn't matter, but notably one of them is a 6 HP partner variant, which can really fuck you up in early pit challenges. Its consistency in keeping partners alive in critical situations definitely goes down. So but I mean, it's not enough to just, it's still a fantastic heal. And if you put in the work to be good at Sweet Treat, it is just amazing. Like, you will always get value out of this move if you become proficient in it. Like, it's just your best heal. There's almost no reason to heal with items, unless you're like doing something specific with the items. Because Sweet Treat lets you pinpoint heal. It's good for the entire game, even against Shadow Queen. It's still good. It's good everywhere. Let's talk about Earth Tremor. You know, Earth Tremor is a really good move. I think the only problem with Earth Tremor is, even though it's like it is essentially a free shooting star, is that it's not as spammable in this game compared to GameCube because of the way star power regen works now. It got nerfed pretty heavily with an appeal buff that's pretty good, but not enough to make this more spammable or even as spammable. I don't really think that changes too much, because I don't know if I would put this in S tier anyway. I think it's solidly A. Like, you're literally, after chapter 1, you literally have a free shooting star that you can just use that hits invisible enemies. You just can't use it all the time. You know, Mario and partners can take care of a lot of enemies on their own without, so you can kind of just, it kind of gets outclassed by them. But the 6 damage is nice. It does fall off a little later on. Only a little, though. Good throughout the game. Use it everywhere. Clockout. Clockout is a tough one because, like, it is very strong and can really wipe entire loadouts as far as, like, attacking them and stuff goes. But I think Clockout was definitely better in the GameCube version because, again, in the GCN version, you could Clockout and regain basically all your star power back with stylish moves. But in this game, because of how bad stylish got nerfed, your damage output after using Clockout goes way down because you either have to spend turns appealing or you're just not going to get the star power you need. So that actually makes just attacking or using something like Gale Force or what have you just like usually better value. It does mean that like badges like Super Peel and Super PLP can be more useful, but your damage output is still going down. So I think this is solidly B tier. Okay, fam, it's time. It's time to talk about Powerlift and why the devs were literally like drunk and high, and I don't know what they were doing when they made Powerlift for the remake, but bro, they decided to make Powerlift fucking obscene. +4 consistently. What? Enemies just die. You can literally remove badges. You don't need defense anymore because Powerlift gives it all to you, except for piercing moves. Like, what were they thinking when they made this? So yeah, Powerlift is bar none the best special move in the remake because of this obscene buff that it's gotten. Like, I can't, if it were just +4 at its peak, it would be a different story. But it's the fact that you can strategize and say that you're gonna do a +4 and basically always get it. There's a little skill involved, but like, I've seen so many people who have never played TTYD just get +4 because it's so fucking easy to do. Like, it's obscene. It's insane. I don't know what they were thinking. There was a case to be made that Powerlift could maybe compete with Sweet Treat and GCN, but no. I think Sweet Treat was pretty solidly on top in GCN, but you could maybe say Powerlift, but in the remake, no. +4 is just like, no, it's too fucking good. Okay, let's talk about Art Attack. Art Attack is like a really strong move for 4 SP. Like, to be able to attack everybody with piercing damage that hits invisible enemies is really good. And you can usually get like 4 to 6 circles on a bunch of enemies, which is 15 damage. Well, 12 to 18 damage, which is really fucking good. I feel like it has been nerfed a little. I think the speed is really clunky. I actually just asked for some testing on Art Attack recently in the Glitz Pit, and I think somebody found that the time, like, you can't do, I think the potential to do 7 circles on Shadow Queen in phase 1 and phase 3, I think is gone, which is actually a kind of a nerf. So that means that there's less time to do circles, which means less damage output, which means worse move. So it's still really good, but I think I think it's top of B now. I think in like GCN, it's solidly A. Some people would put it in S because they just really love Art Attack, which fine, but I definitely don't think it's that good in the remake. It's not as good in the remake, sorry, is what I should be saying. It's still very good. Let's talk about Sweet Feast. Sweet Treat's older cousin. So Sweet Feast is just a big ass heal for 4 more SP. It's 5 instead of 1. If you're fighting down a big boss like Shadow Queen or even Bone Tail, and you need a big ass heal, like, this isn't bad. But like, you could also just use like a Whack-A-Bump. Okay, Whack-A-Bump is a bad example. You could use any kind of healing item or just use Sweet Treat a couple times to get pretty comparable values. I think Sweet Treat just still in the remake just totally outclasses Sweet Feast. Yeah, I just think Sweet Feast suffers from being outclassed by Sweet Treat, and a lot of that outclassing, not only is it that like 2 Sweet Treats you can kind of get the same value as 1 Sweet Feast, but like also 2 Sweet Treats is 2 SP and Sweet Feast is 5. The value to cost ratio is just not in Sweet Feast's favor. So I'm putting it in C. Showstopper is actually quite good. You get it late, but it is quite good because a lot of enemies, until you hit the 80s in the pit, a lot of enemies in the game, even Chapter 8, are weak to Showstopper. They get fucked up by Showstopper. Like, I'm talking like 90+% chance for Showstopper to just delete them. It's like this. It's basically the special move equivalent of Gale Force. Gale Force, good. Showstopper, also good. And it's only 2 SP. It's the same cost as Earth Tremor. The real issue is that, like, once you get it, you're just like built. You have enough resources to just not need it too much. But it is very good in level 0 challenges. You can like sweep basically up till the 80s in the pit with just Showstopper. Shout out to Dark Koopa Trolls having like a 95% weakness to Showstopper. It's hilarious. Like, they're one of the scariest enemies in the pit, and they just get fucked up by Showstopper. It's good, but it's also kind of outclassed by everything else that you just have in the game to deal damage and already want to KO things. Like, the 2 SP is nice, but it just gets so outclassed by everything. It's like, you would think, damn, Kappy is saying this thing is fucking godlike. It probably should be A tier, but it's like, it is a matter of being outclassed hard by everything else in the game that you have at the point that you get it. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if it's C tier. I think it might be bottom of B. That's where I'm going to put it because it is good. Okay, and then we have the last special move, Supernova. Now, I think this is definitely a move that people have thought that is the worst in the game at some point. I think you can make a case for, I think people have made a case for Showstopper, Sweet Feast, and Supernova all being the worst. At some point in the, 7+ years I've been challenge running and like talking with people about this game and tiering and all that. I think Supernova has only gotten better for me as I have continued to play and do things with it. Maybe that's because I like doing unique, fun strategies, but I feel like a 15 damage nuke is not the worst. I think the biggest issue was that you could just deal 15 damage to all enemies with Art Attack for less star power. However, like I said, Art Attack is a little nerfed. It's not as good, which I do think bumps Supernova up a bit. The biggest thing is that, again, like Showstopper, by the time you get Supernova, you have a lot of other options. However, a 15 damage nuke that hits invisible enemies and everything is not bad. If you're not multi-bouncing or quake hammering every enemy, and if you can't KO them all with one multi-bounce or quake hammer, you probably can with Supernova, because not a lot of enemies have over 15 health. Like, even Poison Puffs have 15 health. So I don't really know where I want to put it, because do I think it's better than Art Attack? I think no, but I don't know. Because if it is better than Art Attack, I think it's better enough to probably put it in A, but that seems way too high for Supernova for a move you get so late and only usable for one chapter plus the pit. Like, I just don't see a use for it at that point, and it's not spammable like Showstopper is, but I do think it's really good in the 80s to 100. Like, it's good in those last 20 floors. And, like, you can nuke Chapter 8 with it, too. And you can even use it against, like, Grotus. Also, you can use it against Shadow Sirens, like 15 damage to all 3 of them. Like, that's pretty good. Or 3 Shadows, sorry. So, I think I'm just going to put it right under Art Attack. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm not. I'm going to put it right under Clock Out. I think that makes better sense. I could see it being above Clock Out, but I think for me, I think Clock Out has more general utility throughout the game and is just still really solid. Now that we've got them all tiered. A tier looks empty, but like, I really do not think Art Attack is on the same level as Earth Tremor in the remake. No, yeah, I think this is good, actually. Only one A tier, but I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. There. It's their problem now. All right, fam. We are done with the tier lists.